when you're in your bedroom and you're like 15, 16 years old and you're like, I want to be a professional drummer. I want to like tour and like, and then like what actually, like I know you can relate. I never ever envisioned ever playing in front of, like 500,000 people in Russia. Like,
Wow, I can't say that, buddy.
I can't,
That's a big crowd, bro.
dude. I mean, just the, just the things that come about that are like, man, I had no idea that I would be here or do this or do that or wind up playing with, dead Kennedys and like just
Yeah.
like whatever. It's just it's
You stick around long enough, and you're a good person, and you got a firm handshake, you got a great smile, you're a likable person, you know what you're doing, you show up on time, you check all the boxes, buddy. Of course somebody's going to want to ride a bus with you.
This is the Rich Redmond Show.
What's up, folks out there in podcasting land, you hipsters, you rockers, your jazzers, your folkers, your songwriters, producers, engineers, whoever's listening to the show, we do appreciate it. Hey, it's a solo show today. My co-author, co-producer, I said co-author, we'll probably write a book together, co-producer, co-host Jim McCarthy, voiceovers.com, it's your show.co. He's on vacation. I mean, occasionally we got to do this thing. I'm not going to see a vacation until maybe the last week of August, and even then we'll see if it happens. Like, you take a vacation, you retire, that's when you die. You got to keep moving, you got to keep grooving, you got to do this thing. My mom, she's like pushing 80, she's like working out 2 hours a day, she keeps an immaculate garden, she's in the martini club, she's in the pottery club, she's in the line dancing club, she's in the shelling club, and she's like vibrant, she's living. So anyway, super excited about today's guest because we go back, we got history in the Los Angeles and now in the 615 Nashville, hailing from a little town outside of St. Louis, Pacific Missouri, calling LA home for 21 years, Nashville coming up on 4 years. Great friend of mine. He's a super versatile drummer. He's played with punk legends, the Dead Kennedys, pop stars T.A.T.U, a blues legend, Geneva. Is that right, Steve?
Janova.
So I'm so sorry, Janova, because I will probably be side stage at some point watching you do the da 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 da, at some point. And also country rocker Mark McKay, who we share credits with. We could talk about him, but I'm talking about my friend Steve Wilson. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, baby? Good to see you,
dude. Have you listened to one episode of this show ever? Do you know what you're getting yourself into?
I might have pulled some stuff up and taken a look, and I gotta say, man, I'm so excited that we're finally getting to do this because I know we've been playing the schedule back and forth.
It's like herding cats. I learned that in the South. Someone's like, "Hey, man," it's like Chad Cromwell told me. It's like herding cats. We finally got. I was like, "What do you?" It's just the thing, because cats are pretty hard to herd.
Yeah.
They're not they're not herd animals, but
no.
We're so busy, and Nashville has become such an urban this urban spread that we're just like, you know what, let's just Zoom this thing, man. So we're doing it. So if you guys that are just listening, Steve is killing it. He's in his voiceover studio. He's got tons of drip on. Of course, he's wearing the black tee. That's what we do as drummers. We wear the black tee.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a uniform.
But listen to those pipes, guys. This is like we all got to have. We're multipreneurs nowadays. Of course, we love the drums. Of course, we love music. Of course, we want to play live. Of course, we want to record. We want to teach. We want to do the thing. But Steve realized that he had these pipes, and is that how we met? The pipes thing, doing the voiceover?
I think it was. I think we talked drums like third or fourth. Like I think we were hanging out. We were hanging at the Bow in the Rainbow in LA, and our good friend Jason Sutter introduced us to one another. And I just remember you and I were chatting it up, and we wound up going back to Jason's house, a bunch of us, after the bar closed. And I remember I was reading like a bottle of, you're like, read this. It was like a bottle of like Heinz 57 ketchup. And you were like, and I'm like,
read me the ingredients.
I just remember, of course we were sober. and I remember just trying to like read sulfate salt yellow dye number 15, and but you were like early on one of my biggest supporters. You're like, dude, you've got to do. When I would go 6 months without seeing you, and you would be like, are you auditioning yet? Have you got an agent? Are you like, what are you doing? You should
We
be.
got to do that for each other. You know what I mean?
Well,
But it's
we
like,
do, we do. Um, yeah, that's you were one of my very earliest supporters, which I appreciate. And we still, every time I see you, we still talk about VO because
it's,
you were doing acting and like you were like really
yeah.
like yeah, I
So
remember.
what's funny is that it's like a very Bob Seger kind of moment. It was like this is like one of those Hollywood nights. It's like
But
you're on the strip and like they kick you out. LA is a relatively roll up the streets kind of early town. People don't know that, but they kick you out of these places. And then where do you end up? You're going to end up somewhere, right? So you end up in one of the boroughs. So we go to North Hollywood. We're doing the thing. We're at Jason's house. You're reading the back of a Heinz 57 ketchup bottle, all the genetically modified ingredients. And, then I'm like, hey, man, we got to support each other with this thing because, yes, at the time I was studying, improv comedy, voiceover, TV hosting, cold reading, like all the stuff. I was like, you know what? Maybe there is something that I could do with this outgoing personality. Still trying to do it little. I don't know if you've known this, but I'm sure you feel the pain. It's just really hard to do 80 auditions a year and ride a tour bus and live in airports and all that kind of stuff. But I'll tell you afterwards. But um, I do have a new part coming up, and it's very closely related to the music thing, So I'm probably going to be playing a drummer, but it's a real Hollywood film, and it's filming and da da da. So you know what? Hey, let's do it. You know.
dude, that's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I always thought that like I saw your reel. You sent me your reel. You sent me your voiceover demo, and yeah, dude. I mean, it's there. It's just like we didn't wake up and we could play the way we play now. I mean, it
Tens of
takes
thousands of hours.
years and years and years to get good at this. Yeah, so
Dude, so
it's
so we'll get back to the voiceover because that is fun. I mean, if anybody's just listening, I mean, listen to that baritone. That is incredible. So, and I know the kind of work you do. You do a lot of auditioning, you do studying, but you read like textbooks and like instructional things that are
yeah,
like insert slot A into slot B, and I'm like, God bless you, buddy, because there's a little thing called patience
yeah,
that.
I've heard of it. Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah.
If you're listening to this podcast, it means you're already looking to improve your drumming. Why not level it up in person with me when you book a one-on-one day drum intensive? Drummers from around the world have traveled to Nashville to study with me. We cover subjects like reading, rudiments, technique, hand development, charting, the Nashville number system, styles, percussion, music biz insider info, career development, positive mindset, and much more. Of course, we address all of your questions, and my deep curriculum has helped players of all kinds move the ball down the field to be closer to their goals, even getting accepted to college music programs, moving to that dream music town, getting gigs, and keeping them. Find out more about my one-on-one day drumtensive. Go to drumtensive.com, drumtensive.com, drumtensive.com.
Have a podcast that needs a facelift? Or maybe you're just starting out and want to hit the ground running. At it'syourshow.co, we help you produce, rebrand, and elevate your podcast. Led by industry vet Jim McCarthy, a 25-plus year voiceover, music, and talk radio production pro. Jim's got the ear, the experience, and the gear to take your show from average to unforgettable. Podcasts are one of the most powerful tools to grow your brand, connect authentically, and build trust with your audience. But sounding like a pro? That's what sets you apart. Visit it'syourshow.co today, and let's make your podcast sound like it should.
But hey, let's go back. St. Louis, outside of St. Louis, Pacific, Missouri. I love this timeline. You taught yourself how to play the drums at 4. You got your first set of drums at 11. You joined your first band at 13. It's all odd numbers here except for the 4. You got your first gig at 15, and then your first recording session at 17, and then it was downhill from there.
It was all downhill from there.
So tell us about the love affair with the drums. What sparked it? Was it like a thing you heard? Did you have brothers or sisters that were like, dude, check this out, Houses of the Holy? What was the thing?
Yeah, I was very fortunate to live in a house surrounded by musicians. My dad plays guitar, sings. He played locally, wedding receptions. He'd play, the honky tonks in and around town. My uncle Wayne was a bass player. He played for Stonewall Jackson. He actually lived here in Nashville in the 70s and the
Wow.
80s.
Yeah.
Played the Opry, played the Ryman, and then played the Opry in '74 when it opened. So he was my first like mentor and like my biggest like inspiration. Like he came home from Vietnam and was like, what do I got to lose? So he's like, I lived through that. So he packed up, my aunt, and they moved to Nashville, and they lived here for, I think, the better part of 15 years. But Thanksgiving and Christmas time was always like hitting him up for stories about like, what was it like when, so that was kind of like the real early on. And with my dad being a musician and then me taking a liking to drums, I just, you've heard it a billion times. We all beat on stuff, walking, mom's pots and pans and things like that. So they just got me like a little J.C. Penney's catalog, like as we all started out on, and I just beat that to death, and then Dad finally like bought me an actual set of drums when I was 11, and then joined a band at 13 with guys I knew in school. But I was also fortunate. I mean, me and you, we're not too far apart. That time of the MTV era was for a kid to be 12 or 13 and having like being able to watch Headbangers Ball or it just in rock videos. And that was like just a great, not talking smack about anybody that's 13 now, but I'm just saying that was a really golden time to be a kid, and music and in rock and in country too.
Yeah.
And I should also add, my sister was like, she's, as far as like where I get my taste is you know we're listening to Leonard Skinner, then it's Madonna, then it's Heart, then it's and then it's George Jones, and it's like it's pop, it's country, it's hard rock, and she has and still has like this really eclectic taste. Like before, everyone would say, how like you ask somebody, hey, what do you into? What do you listen to? They say everything. Well, she was saying that in 1985 when people were like, well, I don't like rap or I don't like country music. So
She saw the humanity, and that was like it cross
yeah.
pollinated all the music, which is that's a great sister to have. And so you're 12 or 13, so MTV is popping, you're pubescent. So was it Nina Blackwood or was it Martha Quinn?
It was actually I'm gonna go with Martha Quinn, and I got and then Adam Curry and Ricky Rackman were like staples of like my weekend diet, like with the hard rock stuff. But like, yeah, Nina for sure, Nina for sure.
Oh yeah, it sounded like she gargled with razor blades. I did meet Ricky Rackman at the Bow one night. He was
Yeah,
nice. Yeah,
yeah. He's a super nice guy. Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of how that. And then, like we all did like school band. I marched. I played in the concert band in the wintertime. We did the halftime shows at the football games in the fall. And then joined a rock band when I was 13 with some friends in school, and it just kind of just blossomed from there. I was playing practically every single day from the time I was 13 until now. I mean, I
So
never.
you're playing along to records, which is a great education. But then because of the academic experience in school, you could read music and you understood about
Yeah,
playing crash cymbals and playing the bass drum. And hey, kid, here's a glockenspiel and here's a scale on a glockenspiel, and this is how you play a tambourine. Like that stuff is all just invaluable. It's in there, man. Which is I think that's a perfect combination for someone who's going to have a life in rhythm, a life in music.
absolutely, absolutely. And it was I had a really amazing. He's still a good friend of mine. I had an amazing high school band teacher. And, you know, in our formidable years, we all need that. It's so important because you can go left or right. You can go, I hate this. You get a bad teacher and it can be disastrous, right?
So you're
And
still
even,
in touch with this person, and they must be proud. Have they come to a show ever?
yeah, he hasn't been out to a show yet. I did get to play. I was so touched last year. Was it last year or was it 2 years ago? I think it was 2 years ago. He invited me to come and play his retirement. He retired after 30 years at the school, and he invited some alumnus. So, and I got the call to go and like swing a big band, which I hadn't done since I was at MI with Steve Houghton watching me, you know, like
Wait a minute. When you were at MI, Steve Houghton was still there?
Houghton came by, you know, they would do like the guest, you know, you've guessed it at PIT. So like
Yeah.
Houghton and Gary Chafee would come through and like, you
Wow.
know, and it was a who's who's. It was a lot of fun, but yeah, there I was. And so yeah, Mr. Sokolin hit me up for that. I still call him Mr. Sokolin. Matt hit me up for that. But he was very influential even after I graduated from school. I was looking at MI and was like, "Hey, what do you think?" And he was like, he's like, I'll help you with anything you need to get, like whatever audition or whatever you need to get together. I'll give you a hand," because he's like, I think it would be a good move. Um, I met Greg Bissonette at a clinic in St. Louis one night, and I asked him about it, and he was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Yeah, it's good." So, you know, I was like one of those people. I'm not so much anymore, but at 18, 19, I was like, I had to ask 5 or 6 people to make sure it was okay before I jumped because, you know, I'm moving from a town of back then 5,000 people, and I'm thinking
To
about moving.
Hollywood Boulevard,
literally,
Hollywood and Highland. I mean, right?
literally like off of Hollywood on Cherokee, like off of Hollywood Boulevard. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a very, you know, I know you can relate, man. You think back to what you did when you were 21 and you're like, where did I find the courage and the chutzpah to
Yes.
make such a huge move like that? And
And
it
and
just,
and brother,
just
you
do
did
it.
it. You did it, and that's something that seems to fade in our years. Two things fade: our innocence and our like our insights as children are just so pure in the way we see the universe and the fact that we think that we can just do anything, and then our throw caution to the wind and just bravely dive into the deep end of the pool.
Yeah.
It gets harder and harder as these, we start to have spouses and offspring and bills and mortgages and stuff. And they're like, well, I'm confined to this and I got to have water cooler talk every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then I'm living for the weekend, so, and then, you know what I mean? But it's like,
Yeah.
dude, you did it. So that had to be because we're 6 years apart. So it had to be like around 1994.
That was actually 98 that I
Oh, okay.
made the move. I made the move. I made the mistake. I would have gone sooner, but and I'm not talking like if you're in a band, if you're listening and you believe in your band and you think there's promise there, don't quit your band. But I was in a band with the guys that I was in with from high school, and I stayed around St. Louis for a couple of years after I got out of high school, and it was my guitar player's father who made him join the Air Force. He was like, "You're gonna go into the military if you're not gonna go to college," and it was because he quit and went into the Air Force, and I was flipping through an issue of Modern Drummer one morning and found MI, and I was like, "Hey, Mom, because I was doing community college and I hated it. I was gonna go for audio engineering and stay in Missouri and just study at Webster University and study audio engineering. But I wasn't really feeling community college at all. And I saw an ad for MI. And back then, they mailed you a catalog. They mailed you
Snail
literature
mail.
about yeah. And my mom, who worked 3 jobs and is my biggest hero, she was like, let's go out and look at the campus, which was a big deal for us. I mean, like it was a big deal to book 2 flights, go out, walk the campus, went and also checked out LAMA, where
Ralph
Picaro.
Humphrey and all
Yeah,
those guys. Yeah.
yeah, and looked at that. But I was like coming from a small town, and Pasadena was like kind of the same as it felt the same. And I got to Hollywood, and
It was exciting.
it was exciting, and I got to go and I toured the campus, and I got to go audit some classes, and that's where I met Ray Luzier. And Ray was so sweet to me. I was just auditing a class, and he got me up in an LPW to, like, he's like, "You want to play? Come on," like, and
That sounds like Ray. He's just so
yeah,
inclusive
yeah,
and kind. And
the sweetest guy ever. And we're still buds to this day, like going on almost 30 years. So I just had a really good experience. And then, and once I got there, I just immersed myself in it, man. I mean, I got and at North Texas, I got the good fortune. My mom afforded me, to play drums all day, every day for a year and a half. Before I met the people that are responsible for who I'm playing with now. And I just had a chance to go out on tour, and, a year and a half of school. And I was, all right, I'm ready to apply what I've learned. And that's what I did. And I really just never looked back, and always had like enough work and bands and stuff like that in Los Angeles to kind of keep me there. And it always made
okay. So
sense.
what
Yeah.
was that? What was that, Steve? What was that first opportunity that took you?
So I originally was working with Dave Weiner from the Steve Vai Band. Him and I went to school at the same time, and I helped him. We got his demo together, which got him the Vai gig, and he played with Vai. He only recently stopped playing with Steve, I think, a couple years ago. So he had that gig for decades.
And he's seen a lot of drummers come and go from that, the Laborials and the Virgils and the
Yeah,
all of those
yeah,
drummers that go through that
yeah,
job.
yeah. There
Now,
was
Jeremy Colson has had it for a very long time, I believe.
Colson's been there for a really long time. It was Mangini before Colson, and then, like you said, Virgil did a stint, and Chris Fraser, our buddy Chris
Chris
Fraser, had
Fraser,
that
yeah.
gig. So Dave and I we're still very close friends. But I'm walking, dude. True story. I'm walking to school. I'm on Hollywood Boulevard, and this crazy guy with dreadlocks runs up to me, and I've got a Pantera shirt on and like a Zildjian baseball cap, and he was like, "You like metal and you play drums," and he gives me a tape. This is like 1999. He gives me a cassette tape. He was like, "You should audition for my band. I'm looking for a drummer," and I'm like, "Cool." And I went and I listened to the music, and I thought it was decent. It was like punk meets metal. It was like this kind of mashup of the two. It wasn't like this is going to get played on the radio. It was just, I kept the tape, and I thought, I was like, I kind of hold it hum. I didn't call him back. And then like a month later, I see flyers up at school, and it's drummer needed, van for tour, U.S. tour, Vans Warp dates. And I'm like, it's the same guy. It's the same guy with the tape. So um, I'm like, Christ, I'm like, if they're playing Warp, I'm
Warped,
like, I want to
which
get
just
on there.
celebrated its 30th anniversary.
Oh man, jeez. Oh man, that makes me feel old. They so then I was essentially, it sounds bad, but I was incentivized. I was like, okay. And I went in and I learned the stuff, and and just went ahead and, auditioned, got the gig. We went on. That started my relationship with D.H. Peligro. And I worked with D.H. for, man, like 5 years in his band. He had a trio called Peligro that he did when he wasn't playing with Dead Kennedys. Um,
God
and
rest his
again,
soul, man. He died
yeah,
in 2022.
October of 22. So we, um, they had been involved in a lawsuit for years with their former singer for fraud. He had embezzled, quite some dirty dealings.
No way.
Well, they want this. So this is like 2001. The Dead Kennedys, they won their lawsuit, and they went back out. They won the rights to the name, and they went out on the road. And I was still playing when DH's band, but he was like, "Hey, I need a tech. So do you want to come out on the road with me?" So that's what I did. And that was my first taste of like on the other side of things. And it was interesting. We were friends, so it was cool. It wasn't, anything too stressful, but he would disappear at sound check. He would go get a cup of coffee, or he'd just go walk around, and I'd set up his drums, and the guys would be like, "Hey, we need to run a couple tunes." This is back in the floor wedges days. They're still on wedges, by the way, but like we need to like get sounds. So I just started doing the sound checks. I set up the drums, tune them, do the sound checks. I did everything but play the gig. And they just kind of remembered that. And their tour manager at the time, who was still a good friend of mine, um, he remembered me when this is like some years later. They couldn't find DH. He had gone kind of off the grid. Turns out he needed some personal time, but they had shows booked, and I'm in Europe, and the tour manager calls me and he's like, "When are you back?" And I'm like, "I'm back like tomorrow." And he was like, "Can you learn the DK set in like 5 days?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm pretty familiar with it, and I'm on tour, so my chops are already together. And I come home, and in 5 days I would shed their set, and in less than a week we're playing House of Blues, Anaheim, sold out.
And so
And
this was in 22.
this was in '05.
Oh my
So,
God.
so this is in '05. So
That's
I
20
got
years ago.
20 years ago. I've been involved in that camp for 25. If you include my years as a tech, it's 25 years. So
Amazing, but it's an amazing relationship, and
it really
you
is.
won the trust and the hearts and the minds of the powers that be, and you were always there for your friend, and you played
Yeah.
drums for him when he had a solo thing. You set up and tuned his drums, you filled in for it, and then you're doing the thing with the
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah. And I thought it was going to be like essentially like one off, like because they couldn't find him, and they were going to be in big trouble if they didn't do these shows, legal problems. And it went well enough that they booked another run with me in '05. So we did another run in Florida, and that was a blast. And then it was like, Rich, it was weird. I mean, it was crickets for like a decade. And in that 10 years,
Had to do some other things.
I got involved in like cover bands, top 40 cover bands. My dream when I moved to LA was like, cause I love Van Halen. I love Motley Crue. I love Guns N' Roses. I mean, that was the stuff that I grew up listening to. And I always wanted to be in a band, like I'm going to get in a band. We're going to make records. We're going to tour the world. We're going to conquer. Right. And I thought that that's what I was my destiny. That's what I wanted. But, through school, through going through MI and learning styles and learning how to learn, like learning how to actually learn material, chart, the invaluable things that we learn as side guys. I learned how to do that, and I needed work, so I was starting to work in like top 40 circuit and playing in original bands. But what I had learned is that I'm pretty good at like learning other people's music, like a lot, like I can listen to a song a few times, and I can make a chart, and I can usually just play it down on a
Nice.
good day. On a good day, so that was a skill set that I had no idea that I possessed when I got to LA. But that became a very, very useful tool when I learned the DK set. And then, years later, I got referred to back when, God rest his soul, Barry Squire. Barry, his list. I'd been hearing about I'd heard his name from the time I got to LA, man. Like, they were like, that's
Tell our listeners the
oh,
the iconicness of that gentleman
Yeah.
and really kind of what he did.
I'll try, because he was a very, very super important figure, not just in LA, but just in our music industry in general. So Barry um,
He was a
I'm gonna,
drummer originally.
well, he was a drummer, and I'm gonna give like a very kind of abbreviated definition of what he did. He was the liaison between bands and record companies and management companies and hired musicians. He
There you
was
go.
the guy that put, you need a drummer, record company, management company calls Barry, like, we need a drummer for this band, and boom, he was the synergy, he was the glue, he was the guy that made things happen. Again, he did a lot more than that.
And we just lost
But
him late last year.
late last year, but that's a very, like I said, that's a very abbreviated definition of what he did. His list was a very coveted, in the early 2000s. It was a very coveted thing to get on his list, and it was hard to do. Like, I couldn't recommend you, Rich,
Right.
because we're drummers. So, but if I played bass, I could. So you had to come referred from someone that did not play your instrument, because we're all buddies in the drum circle, right? But and I got recommended, and I went out, and I auditioned my first audition, and I got the gig, which was great, because I knew I was auditioning for him and the band. So I got the gig. Couldn't take the gig due to some, we just bottom line, it came down to like money and my schedule and so on and so forth. So it didn't work out. But it was great that I got the gig, because for years after that, he called me for a ton of stuff. And I'd say half of it I got,
Nice.
or at least got on the short list.
Yeah.
But that's how I got the call, for this Russian pop group called T.A.T.U, who,
T.A.T.U.
correct, and they were really, really, their heyday was like 99, 2000, 2001, like that era. They did the Tonight Show, they did Conan, I don't think they ever did SNL, but they were, the first record did very, very, very well. I think it sold something like 7 or 8 million copies worldwide.
It was very like quasi Evanescence, gigantic loops, gigantic guitars, big
Yeah,
synths, big
yeah,
gosh. And I saw some video out there. You're like, it was a global tour, was it not?
yes, it was. It was 20 countries.
So
Yeah,
you're going to Russia, you're going to the Eastern Bloc, you're going to,
Japan,
yeah,
Dubai, uh, like we played in Egypt.
nice.
I mean, we went, like, when I say we went everywhere, we played in Armenia.
You're
We
like
play,
set up in front of the Sphinx, and you're like, hey, it's not as big as I thought.
I mean, when we think about, and I know you can relate. When you're in your bedroom and you're like 15, 16 years old, and you're like, I want to be a professional drummer. I want to like tour, and like, and then like, what actually, like, I know you can relate. I never ever envisioned ever playing in front of, like, 500,000 people in Russia. Like,
Wow, I can't say that, buddy.
I can't,
That's a big crowd, bro.
dude. I mean, just the, just the things that come about that are like, man, I had no idea that I would be here or do this or do that or wind up playing with, Dead Kennedys, and like, just
Yeah.
like, whatever. It's
You stick around long enough, and you're a good person, and you like, you got a firm handshake, you got a great smile, you're a likable person, you know what you're doing, you show up on time, you check all the boxes, buddy. Of course somebody's going to want to ride a bus with you.
Well, I appreciate that, brother.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I know.
Yeah.
It's but just to kind of like close it up with them. They were like, that was the T.A.T.U thing through Barry, and I'm in that audition at SIR there in Hollywood, and I'm up against some guys I knew that were like, oh man, that I know him. And I'm like, mohawk, earrings. I just got back from Europe I was in a death metal band at this time, and I just got home, and I'm like, I'm not I'm not the right fit for this. I'm like, I'm a total punk rock, like hardcore guy. I looked the part back then, and lo and behold, that's what they wanted. They didn't want a clean cut pop drummer looking dude. They wanted an edge. They wanted
Yeah.
somebody with an edge. So there I was at 29 with my edge, get the gig, and I'll tell you what, that was the only time. Maybe you did this too. I maybe with Aldine, but like I called and woke my mom up. I was at a party for my ex-girlfriend's birthday party. We were having a dinner, and I got the call that I got the gig at like 11 o'clock at night in Cali, which is 1 o'clock in the morning in St. Louis. And I called my mom and woke her up and told her I got the gig. That for me, driving my Bronco with the U-Haul trailer 1,800 miles from Pacific to
To the
Hollywood.
Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, that I mean, that validated, when my first arena over I think it was like in um, Holland, Estonia, and we played in an arena, and I hit, and like and the pyro's going off, and I'm like, dude, I'm like, that's it. I'm like, the Bronco, the U-Haul trailer, the studio apartment full of roaches on Hollywood Boulevard. I mean, just everything was just validated. And I think that and paying off my student loans to MI through playing the drums. I mean, these are just things that are just cannot put a dollar sign on the validation that you get, the feeling you get from like, I set a goal, I had a dream, and it's not only been met, it's been exceeded. And it's just
You exceeded your own expectations by being
100%.
forward thinking and by being a person that takes action. And that's a great thing, man. You did it.
I did it, and I felt like when I left LA after 21 years, I felt like I had I think it's important. It's not the most important thing, but I think it's important to feel like I set out what I intended to accomplish, and I didn't feel like I left anything. I scratched all the itches that I intended to when I left. I had just kind of gotten to a point to where I needed a change. I mean, you and me, when we met, that was the heyday of like the ultimate jam nights and like
The sound check live with Ferlazzo at the Lucky Strike. We
amazing.
we lived at the Lucky Strike, and the funny thing is that God bless. And it was very Hollywood in the sense that they call it a jam night, but it is so structured and so organized for you listeners out there. There's spreadsheets and there's emails and there's sign-ins and there's wristbands. And it's like, this is Hollywood. There's like the guy with the earpiece at the door and he's like 300 pounds and it's all muscle. And it's like, you ain't getting in if you're not on the list. And then you get in there and you wait around all night because at 10:26, I'm supposed to play a Soundgarden song that goes between 4/4, 5/4, 6/4, and 7/4.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna wait to do it because maybe some guy with a cigar will go like, "Hey kid, you sound great. Come on, I got a studio down the street." Yeah, we just do these things, but it is not a jam. A jam in Middle America is like, hey, do you know Tush? Or do you know what I mean? Do you know Taking Care of Business? Do you know All Right Now? This is like, okay, members of Alice Cooper's band, members of Rat, members of Y&T, members of Jason Aldean, members of the Dead Kennedys, and everything was like a super group, and it was fun, man.
It was a blast. It was such an awesome time to be there and be a part of that. I remember our good friend Matt Starr. One night I was trying. You talk about, like I was talking about Barry a minute ago. You talk about like hard to break in. It was hard to even be considered to be invited to play that.
To play a jam.
To play a jam, to your point, was I don't mean to call it an unpaid gig, but you learn the material like you were going to go play
Like
for
it was going to
the
be a
artist.
TV show, like it was
Yeah.
going to be filmed. And
Yeah.
that's how you have to live your life in Hollywood, because somebody, a tastemaker or 20, is going to be in that audience.
Yeah. And I was one of the lucky few. I was one of the lucky few that actually got a gig from going to those.
What was that? What was that?
I was in a band called Heaven and Earth with the amazing Joe Retta on vocals,
Okay.
and the incredible Lynn Sorensen from Bad Company, and my good friend Mike Mangan, who's now playing with the Cult.
Wow.
So yeah, it's and of course Stewart. I love Stewart. I got to mention Stewart.
What's up,
The
Stuart?
Stuart Smith, the founder of the Feast.
Dude, because you know what? Like, look at so for Lazo and Glenn Sobel had the sound check thing, which was at the
Yep.
home base at the Lucky Strike. Then you had Eric Himmel holding it down at the Viper, and then you had Matt holding it down at the Whiskey.
Yes.
And then there was it was several nights a week, and you never, you might be playing Kiss, you might be playing, I'm playing a Cranberries song with the bass player from Quiet Riot,
Chuck Wright.
right? Chuck Wright. And you just never know. And it was just always so fun. It's like a lot of hurry up and wait. But
It
we
was.
did it. We did it. It was a subculture. It was like something that you do in the current state of things. And thank God, because you were talking about all those cover bands you were in. It's like cover bands. Man, you were working in probably Orange County all the time, right?
It was either Orange County or the Valley, yeah, because as we both know, there's no cover bands in Hollywood. I mean, I lived at the beach, which we can talk about that. I lived at the beach,
well,
and
I know what you're going to say about the beach. It is a 24-hour, 8 days a week party.
Oh yeah, dude, it's nonstop.
And then when I crashed with you, when I was going through my couch crashing,
Yes.
floor crashing phase in Los Angeles, what was that little area you stayed in over by the airport off the 210?
I lived in a city called El Segundo.
El Segundo, man. Yeah, man.
Who could forget, man? Yeah, I remember, and you were in town, and I'm like, dude, I'll just leave a key under the mat.
I'm like, what? You're so
and you
nice.
were like, it was such a safe. I think it still is. It's such a safe neighborhood. It's a great place to live. It was, but you, you were keeping you were like, dude, I literally get up at 6 a.m. and I'll be home at 3 a.m. And I'm like, that's fine, man. Just I
need a place to lay my head for 3 hours without actually suffering the sleeping in the rental car for 3 hours.
No, I don't think I even saw you.
Crazy.
Dude, best guest ever. I never even saw you because I would either be asleep when you would get in, and then you would be gone before I would get up. But yeah, great place to live, great apartment. I still miss it, but yeah, when Star asked me to sit in, I remember just going home, and I woke my ex up, and I'm like, I got to play the jam. It was such a, and from that, then I just got the call, and I just kept getting the call. Hey, are you available? Do you want to play this, this Ozzy song, or this, this Van Halen song, which, but yeah, the cover band stuff, that's what we were doing. Like I say, an unpaid gig, but it's like you rehearsed the material like you were going to be on TV. You had to be on time. And then you couldn't mess up. You're playing with guys, like you said, you could be on stage with who knows, who knows. That's where I met Mark McKay at Lazo's Jam. I met so many good friends, and it was so cool that and people that were there already know this, but those who don't, any night of the week, like Monday night, you were at the Viper Room. You know, Tuesday night, you were at the Whiskey. Wednesday night, you were at Lucky Strike. Thursday night, you were at Sayers Club. And it was like every week for the rock circle. LA is so big that I did start to try to go out and hit some of like the R&B nights.
There's like a hip hop gospel chops kind of thing, and then there's like
Yeah,
there's the jam night at the baked potato, and then
sure.
there is still some stuff happening. I mean, it's always
Yeah,
going to hopefully it's an
yes,
entertainment mecca. Like if you're
right.
gonna have Marvel movies, it's gonna drip down. There's gonna be music. There's gonna be
Yeah,
musicians, all that
yeah,
good stuff.
absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, so Mark McKay, I mean, you're playing with him, and so, but let's really talk about this Dead Kennedys thing because that is a
All right.
relationship that goes way back, and it's so funny. It's like I might have like a punk attitude or approach at times, but I never was like a punker. Like I had a mohawk, I had a faux hawk. It
Yeah,
was purple, it was red, but like I was never like, and then I realized, oh my God, there's this guy like Josh Freese, like he plays on Sting Records and he's like a huge session drummer, but he has this punk band. Well, let me check this out. So there's like but the cool thing about the me kind of like binging Dead Kennedys is there was some of that double time, but it was never like super extreme tempos like
right, yeah, right.
like maybe that's the top. I was like, wow, I can manage that. But it's got to feel different it's just like pure energy, pure aggression because you living in Nashville for 4 years, playing with Mark and other guys. And I don't know if you've played down on Lower Broadway. We can talk about that and your thoughts on all that. But most things in Nashville, there's like I call it the Nashville plod. There's like a plod where it's like you're between like 69 BPM and 89 BPM. You're in there, so you're playing real chunky, even hats, a very Bonham-esque kind of doom
Absolutely.
a heartbreakers kind of douche baj boom right down the middle like
Yep,
chunk and tricep
yep,
guitar. So
yep.
it's a different, like both styles need energy, focus, time, groove, feel.
Absolutely.
God, it's got to feel good to go out with a punk crowd and like hock a loogie and
Right.
slam a Red Bull and twirl your stick and break a cymbal, and it's got to be it's like war.
It really is, and I'll just say this. I'll be the first to admit it, and I was the least likely, and still am the least likely punk rock drummer ever. I mean, I knew who they were, but I did not grow up playing this stuff. I didn't really even grow up listening to it. I like the Ramones. I mean, I like a lot of it, but the fact that I wound up where I'm at is really not like, oh man, like I would have I was listening to, like I said earlier, like I was listening to like a lot of Sepultura and Slayer and Pantera, and before that I was still am, was into the Crew and Van Halen and Def Leppard. I mean, like, and then like I just learned how to play this music, and I fell in love with it,
How are the fans? They've got to be, because
they're sweet. They're sweet.
that is an older punk band in the sense that if somebody was in their teens and they were following the Dead Kennedys and all these multi decades go by and
Yeah,
now they're grandparents,
yeah,
but they're showing up and they got a little touch of Hot Topic on, right?
sure.
And they're like
Yeah.
they're keeping it alive, you know.
Rich, I'm very, very blessed in that, I took over the helm for, like they're big shoes, like we don't have DH anymore.
Now what?
Um,
Now, excuse my ignorance. Was DH the second drummer?
he was a guy named Ted was the first drummer they had, but DH was there the longest. He was there from 81 to 86, and then he was with them from when they won their lawsuit in '01 up until his passing in 22. I mean, he literally played a show with them in Europe, uh, and came home, and I think he passed away just like maybe a few weeks later after they like got home from the road. Um, but speaking
Sorry.
specifically about the, yeah, speaking specifically about the fans, I I've been so lucky to be like embraced and thanked. And each night, I say something about DH. We pay homage to him every night at every show.
Well, I was
Uh,
gonna say, drummers usually have the gift of gab, and we're usually very outgoing people. So you have been blessed with this opportunity every night to get a microphone and to talk about the legacy. And you're sitting in that seat, and you're very humble about it. I mean, you're more than capable to beyond capable to move the ship forward. But that's got to be a cool thing, man, to
it's
talk
a
every night.
It is. It's cool. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it's a when you're talking about bands, iconic bands, specifically in drummers, and coming in behind someone who's so respected. That's a fairly small club. There's not a lot of guys in that club.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I mean it's an honor, and it can't really ever be taken for granted or forgotten why you're there, and who made that opportunity possible for you. And I think it's just I appreciate the fact that the guys um, give me the opportunity. It's maybe 45 seconds, but that's 45 seconds that I get to talk about DH.
And everybody's like, yeah.
Yeah, man, people absolutely love it. You know what I mean? Even I just got home from Spain last week, Portugal, and
Lisbon. I was catching up. What's the quickest way to catch up on somebody's entire life? Go to their Instagram.
pretty much, yeah.
So yeah, you know what the funny I toured Lisbon in 1994 with the North Texas State 1 o'clock lab band. So, but
Wow,
I was too
buddy.
young to really appreciate it and too nervous because I was like, "Oh my God, tomorrow we are doing a live recording on the history of big band music from 1920 to 1994." So if I went back, I would totally enjoy it. So tell me, how was it? How was it?
You should go back because I know you've heard like there's a lot of people moving from the United States to Lisbon, and
Wow.
I mean it's got a lot of Americans that are moving there.
Expats.
Expats or they're in supply over there. The weather is essentially Santa Monica.
Oh my God,
I
come
mean, yeah,
on.
I mean, I got there and I'm like, it's like you need a jacket at night, and it's
You're
perfect in the
speaking my
daytime,
language.
dude. It's like I'm like, that's why, and it's not, it's a beautiful city. I mean, I was fortunate. The tour was great. 9 shows, 20 days, lots of time to go explore Granada and like Mallorca. We flew into Mallorca and had a few days there, and the shows were killer. And going places like Porto um, and Portugal, and we talked about Lisbon, and just it was just, dude, it was like. And we had a great crew. Rich, I didn't have to like. I had a drummer as a tech, and what's up,
Doesn't
Paulo?
doesn't always happen. Doesn't always
It
happen.
doesn't always, but Paulo was the best. He must have taken a picture the first night of the first gig because every night I'd come in, my stuff was like exactly. I didn't have to move. And yeah, it's just like little things like that are just like I don't know. That is amazing. So, but it was a blast. I was ready to come home. 3 weeks is a long run, as you know, but it was nice to come home. But it was also like, geez, that was just like an incredible, incredible tour, man. It was so much fun. So
Do you think that these guys are ever going to record some new music, or they're not in that mode in their life?
I think that you can't completely take it off the table. They do talk about it, which I'd be like, let's go, let's record some new music, or even if they just like
You do
remix.
files, just send
Yeah,
files.
send files, or even just like there's one song we do every night, and I'm like, that is such a great song. Why wasn't that a single? And they're, well, it almost was, and I'm like, well, put it out. Like,
So
read.
were the Dead Kennedys getting airplay? I mean, we're talking like college radio, AAA radio. They weren't on modern rock radio, were they?
The cool one of the coolest things about them is that their success is not it's not tied or tethered to the radio
You're
or to
right.
MTV. They just they just they did
Relentless
it.
touring.
Relentless touring, and like Buzz and Street, like they are everything they built is from just really good songs with clever lyrics. And it used to be that easy, right? It used to be that easy, and now it's slightly a little bit more complicated.
It is so complicated. It's like, are we relying on traditional radio or relying on satellite radio? Are we doing playlists? Are we doing relentless touring? Are we doing American Idol or The Voice? Are we doing everything combined? And it's like, God, good luck. But I will tell you, as guys like us, we have our craft.
Yeah.
We have a big smile on our face, and someone's always going to need a great drummer. So there you go.
Well, and so far that's served us well, man. Yeah, it's a interesting life choice. It's not one that you well, I don't know, man. And you're probably the same way. I just there wasn't anything I wanted to do. I think you have to be that, I wouldn't say crazy, but maybe a little.
Focused.
I don't want to do anything. I don't have any interest in doing anything else but this. So I'm going to
There has to be a focus
yeah,
that is not only bordering on, that is probably bullseye in the middle of obsession.
yeah, yes,
Because I
yeah,
remember studying Vinny Appice and Dio videos, and then buying his book Rocksteady, and and then you're in the trenches and you're copying and you're modeling, and then I look back at those Dio videos nowadays and I'm like, wow, this was pretty low budget.
yeah, right.
But it stands, the Rainbow in the Dark and Last in Line and all these amazing songs that were recorded at Sound Shitty. And I don't even know why they call it Sound Shitty. It's because Sound City, I mean, so many amazing The
So many
Rumors,
records.
Tom Petty, Vinny, Dio, so many great things were recorded there.
Did you get to go and record? I know Matt started. We did that thing for charity. So Grohl bought that console, and
He did.
it's in 606 now.
It's crazy.
And I did this, and I got to record into that console. We did a record. We contributed a song for charity. This is going back years ago. But and I just remember number one being in 606, which is, if you're a Foo Fighters fan, you love Nirvana, you love Dave Grohl. It's a pretty magical place just to begin with. But like, then that's the Neve, that's
Yeah.
the Neve, that's the Appetite for Destruction, Nevermind, Rumors. It's that console, right?
I don't even know
So
why people would ever call it Sound Shitty. And I think Rick Springfield did a lot of his stuff there. I mean, it was like, that was a magical building in the middle of you know, the valley, man, the San
yeah,
Fernando Valley. Say what you want. I mean, we wouldn't have the movie. We wouldn't have Boogie Nights. We wouldn't have so many things. Thank God for that little valley that
right.
just made so many amazing things.
Really did.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
It was yeah, it was such it was an incredible time, man. I loved my time there. I loved my time in LA. I miss it. I love to go visit now, but
Because I was going to ask you, how are you loving, Nashville? So you got, like, it's not quite the Nashville that I experienced 28 years ago. Coming
Right.
from Texas, like, Texas is the South, but it's kind of its own subculture. And, I really don't have any problem with Texas. I think, like, the roads are super wide. The people are pretty proud. They're pretty friendly. It gets hot, but there's a culture there. There's a support for the arts there. Music education is at its highest level in the state of Texas. I really don't have a problem with Texas at all. But moving here, I was like, oh my God, meat and threes, and there was like hay bales, and there's no valet parking. Forget about sushi. I mean, like we have come a long way, baby.
Yeah.
So are you loving Nashville, or are you just realizing that, hey, everyone is coming here and I'm in line. I mean, I'm so glad I'm in line. I moved here 28 years ago. So,
Right. Right.
hopefully if somebody needs a drummer, or a voiceover artist, or they're going to think of Rich or Steve. Steve or
Right.
It's the Steve and Rich Show,
Brought to you by Heinz 57 ketchup.
brought to you by Icebreakers.
Yeah. I don't have it. What am I? I got this. It's water, I promise. Don't freak out. Yeah, it's been like I had the good fortune, you know, people in our industry, we have the good fortune of seeing if we think a new place might be a good fit. So I started coming out here for work
With Mark.
with Mark in 2018 when we played the Ryman. So that was my first gig in Nashville, was the Ryman Auditorium.
Look at that, buddy. That's the mother church, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah, we were direct support for Ted Nugent, and I remember Mark calling me on the phone. I'm driving in North Hollywood. I'm driving my car, and he was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I'm like, because we were it was being thought about if we were going to be able to do the tour or whatever, and it was like Virginia Beach, and it was like some dates in Ohio, and but then it was like the Ryman, which is like we'll do the four to get the one. No offense, but that's just the way it is. And he was like, "You might want to pull over," and I'm like, "Okay." So I pull over in somebody's driveway, and he's like, "We got the tour. We're gonna play the Ryman in July," and I'm like freaking out. Amazing. So we did that, which was so special, so special to be the second member of my family who where there's many musicians in my family, but to be the second member of my family to get to play on that stage. I called my dad from the wings, and I was like talking to him, and I'm like so nervous. I've played TV, and I was more nervous there for that show than I was for playing TV. I mean, that was like so, because I've been hearing about this place my whole life since I was a little kid, hearing about the Grand Ole Opry, right? So
Well, it
did
is the
that.
longest running radio show of all time. And for
Yeah,
various periods, it was a television show. When I was with Pam Tillis, we lived at the Ryman, or I mean, at the other location for
yeah.
the Opry, and we were always on television. And it's like, you got to get on. There's a house kit, there's a house drummer, but you were doing a full blown show, right? You had your own kit.
So yeah, we got a kit for the run from SAR here in
Ah,
Nashville,
yeah,
and I had that. The show went great. It was amazing. I had family in attendance. My fiance, her mom and sister came down from Maryland for that show. I mean, it was really, really, really special.
good,
We had to
man.
go to Roberts afterwards for fried bologna sandwiches, and like and beers. We had to do that right after we play the Ryman.
My
Um,
favorite honky tonk on the entire planet. Do you agree with me?
100%, and not only that, probably maybe the only, like, it's like the last one. It's
It's
like
the
the last
last. Oh my God.
true, authentic, like,
It's the last honky tonk. There should be a documentary, and like, if any filmmakers are listening out there, I want to somehow be involved in this thing, because I'm not a person that finds themselves down there a lot, but if I do go down there, I'm going to Roberts. That's
you go
top of the list.
without a doubt. You go to Roberts. Layla's is also is cool too. It's
Close
like,
second. Yeah.
so you get involved, and then you get me on as the narrator for the last honky tonk, and
Absolutely. Listen to those voice. Like
I
I'm like, hey lady, and you're like,
you always thought
hey
you sounded like,
lady.
you don't sound like Jerry Lewis.
Hey lady,
So, so
So you
I
go to Roberts, it's a fucking party.
It's a party, right? So here I am. I've been talking about moving here since like 2016, right before I got the Heaven and Earth gig, which was phenomenal. It was a great gig. I mean, it was salaried. I'm not going to argue with that. Very generous people there involved. It pushed my move out because I got a gig. I got a gig in LA and it was fun. And I'm playing like Deep Purple, like Kenny Aronoff played on the record. And I'm coming in and I'm comping Kenny's stuff.
Nice.
And then, yeah, it was a blast. And I met him a few months later and he couldn't have been nicer to me.
He's a real wallflower.
He should really open up. Did I told you my Kenny Aronoff story, didn't I?
You're about to right now.
I'm about to right now. We were at a good friend of mine, Ronnie. She's an awesome guitar player, played with the Runaways. She booked a session. She used to play with Kenny when Kenny was out with Fogerty or doing a trillion other things. You know, I get the call, and so we're in Sunset Sound there in LA, and we're doing a session.
Yeah.
And she's got like 3 or 4 songs she wants to record, and she's got Kenny on 1 or 2 and me on 1 or 2. So I'm doing a sesh with Kenny. He comes in, he plays on my kit, which was cool, sitting right over there. And I'm talking to the we're done, you know, and we're talking. It was like a master class watching him do his like listen and the yellow legal pad and make his chart. I'm watching him and like I'll watch him go in. He does like 2 takes and it's done. Just sick. And we're done. We're out in the live room and I'm talking to somebody. I'm talking to Ronnie or somebody, and he was like, "You should do voiceover." And I'm like, thanks. I'm trying to. I'm like I dipped my toe in the water. So my story is when I say Kenny Aronoff heard me play, he told me I should do voiceover. So it's not.
That's horrible. That's horrible and funny and incredible.
Dan and Jerry at Pro Drum, they laughed. They thought it was pretty funny.
Have you ever done the Groove of the Day on Vine Street there?
I did, man. I got to do it. I got to do it last year. Actually, no, I got to do it in 23. Yeah.
What am I saying? I watched it on your Instagram. It's like you did a thing like the groove was like it was like Dugaskus to do Scott Dugaskus to do Dugaskus to do and then Bugaskin ding 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 Bugaskin.
Yeah, it was that was it. You got the gig. No, it was no pressure, dude. I remember going in to see those guys, and I had just landed from probably Nashville, and I hadn't slept. I think I did a gig the night before. I was really, 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 really tired. But when Jerry's like, "So, are you familiar with
Groove of the Day?"
And I'm like, yeah, I'm familiar. He's like, you want to do one? And I'm like, even though I've got plane sleep, you know, like 3.5 hours, I'm like, I'm not going to say no.
Yeah.
So on those acrylic DWs, that was the best I could put together on like 3.5 hours of sleep. You could probably see the bags under my eyes. But no, they're sweet guys, and that was a lot of fun. You know,
that's just such a piece of
history.
You know, Hollywood history, and you know, that drum shop across from the local 47 Musicians Union, and then if you walk out the door and you take a right, you go to Cactus Taqueria number something or other that I love.
The best.
That's where I go, right there. And there's no bathrooms, and so you got to go into the neighborhood next door and pee behind the building. It's like crazy.
Oh yeah. Did you know Pro Drum's got a toilet? I didn't know that until They have a restroom in Pro Drum. I had been shopping there for 15 years.
And you didn't know?
I drove up from like El Segundo.
I knew because they have they have these very yellowed, weathered from the sun posters of like Steve Jordan and Dave Weckl over the toilet. It's amazing. Buy the Yamaha hip gig kit.
Yeah, right. The Weckl with the mullet. Yeah.
Oh, dude, I had that mullet. I had this VO5 mullet, bro.
Dude, I had one. I like to think like guys like us. We had mullets before they were ironic. like when they were just like, it was just like a hairstyle, you
We
know,
just
like it was
did, we
like,
just it was just VO5, hairspray, curls,
yo,
um,
five. Yeah, little herbal essence.
herbal
Yeah.
essence, and then we would come home from the club, and there was no smoke heaters in a lot of places, and so you would open up your drum cases, and it smelled like the Philip Morris factory,
It
and your
would.
hair like, and there was like you take a shower, and then you could see the smoke coming out of your hair.
Literally, literally,
Yeah,
like people asking you if you smoked. You're like, no, I'm a nightclub musician.
and your teeth are all yellow, and you're like,
You got yellow teeth. Your clothes stink.
it's
You smoke.
crazy. So
Uh,
you're in Nashville. You got a
so
great gal. You're engaged.
yeah,
You're loving Nashville. So I'm sorry. Just this is like.
no, yeah, we're all
How did
over.
you finish your Ryman experience? You're the second person in the history of your family to play the
Yep.
Ryman Auditorium.
So that was incredible. And like I was saying, you know, like in our industry, I would always just in 18, I wanted to move here. I wanted to move here in 16, got a gig, pushed it out. 18, play the Ryman. I'd get a car. I'd get a hotel. I'd spend a few extra days. I'd always tried. And then with Janova, I was coming out here in 2018 and 2019 to do the Americana Fest with her. So, and then Christine, my fiance, her her work, her company had a massive conference at the Gaylord in 2019. So between playing the Ryman, doing Americana twice, and coming out with Christine for the conference at the Gaylord, like I had like chances to come out and like check Nashville out. I mean, I came down here with my dad when my uncle lived here, but I was very young and I didn't really, you know, like now, you know, as an adult, but but coming from Missouri, I mean, it's not that, it's different because we're not, you know, we're not in the South where where I'm from, but like, and certainly coming from LA, it was very, very, very different. But like, you know, I'm like, I could totally fit in here. I could totally do this. I think I could make this work. And, so yeah, so I came out here. I actually moved here originally in December of 2019 and was just in time for the tornado and the pandemic to basically shut everything down. So so in March when everything shut down, I mean, I had built up a little bit of a network, but there was, as we both know, there was no music, there was no gigs, there was no Broadway, there wasn't nothing. So I decided, I packed up, and I couldn't afford to stay here. So I went home and I helped out my mom, who was having some health problems. And I'd always wanted to teach. So I started applying to like School of Rock and places that were doing virtual drum lessons.
Wait a minute. Did
Um,
you work with Angie and Kelly McCride over at the School of Rock?
I worked at the School of Rock in Kirkwood, Missouri, just outside
Oh,
of
okay.
St. Louis.
Oh, you
So
went back home.
I
To
went
the,
home to help out my mom,
gotcha.
who was having some health problems, and it was
Gotcha.
kind of like one of those things. Complete transparency, like as much of a drag as it was that we were all out of work. I mean, we were all sitting at home. I mean, there was not a whole lot going on, but in hindsight, you know, that was, I kind of was exactly where I needed to be. I was right there, like um you know, my mom had a minor stroke, so it was good. It was good to be there and help with doctor's appointments and grocery shopping and pharmacy runs and things like that. But it also provided me an opportunity because I'd always wanted to teach, but I've always been on the road, you know, so I've never really taken the time to like have students, you know. It's just, I just, the opportunity never presented itself. So I thought, let's make some lemonade, right? I was like, here's an opportunity. So I um, got on with School of Rock there in Kirkwood, Missouri, and then I also was working for Monzingo Music. in
Oh,
O'Fallon, Missouri.
Jeff, man.
Jeff's a sweetheart. Love
Killer
Jeff.
drummer. And he does like kind of like uplifting presentations and such.
Yeah.
And I've done things for him. What a great guy.
Yeah, so I was at Manzingo and I was working at School of Rock, and that's kind of what I did, Rich, until I was kind of getting calls this is like the summer of 2021, that things were starting to kind of open back up down here. And Mark McKay and we were direct support for REO Speedwagon. The summer of 21, we did 2.5 weeks with them in July of 21. And I said, when we get off the road opening up for REO, I went home and I bought a car and I packed it up and I came back here, and that was in September. So July, and then I staggered, and then I finally I like got here in September 21, and I no more back and forth. I stayed put, and I've been here ever since, man. And I love it, man. And yeah, got engaged. We own a home here in town, which is a big deal. Makes you feel, you know what that's like.
You're
You know,
part of the
like
culture. Yeah.
yeah, if you own property where you live, that's kind of like, it's very like, you feel definitely more of the fabric of your community. So, and I absolutely, love it. It's just, I do my airport gigs, I do my Johnny Cash tribute act. And I play with Dead Kennedys, and I play really traditional country, or I play very extreme punk rock. And then I'm also available to do, sessions or whatever else comes down the
Now,
pipe. So,
Steve, I'm glad you're here full time, and God,
yeah.
welcome. Um, do you have your mobile tracking thing over to your left right there? Like set up for drums to record or no?
I'm not currently set up right now to record at home. I do VO from
Yeah.
home, but I definitely, the room is like, we've been here a year in this house, and it's definitely taken me with work and back and forth and in and out of town. It's taken me that long just to even get my voiceover booth kind of treated and up and going. But remote tracks is definitely something that I'm interested in. I'm already, doing single track for my voice, but definitely, I love playing live. I love the road. I love, I traveling airports and that stuff. That it doesn't. It's not for everybody. But even in being in my late 40s, that kind of stuff, it does not. It doesn't bother me. I actually kind of miss it when I'm home for too long. So,
Steve, I do not have a problem with it at all.
um, uh, excited to go to Australia coming up in September with Dead
Nice.
Kennedys. First time for that. Never been. New Zealand, Australia.
Just don't go swimming with the crocodiles, but and watch out for the snakes, spiders, scorpions, and sharks.
Yeah, I was going to say, what do they say? Shake your boots before you put them on. Yeah,
We were there in 20, definitely do that. We were there in 2015, and like after a show, like the whole band and crew were at this outdoor eatery and such, and
sure.
it's in the summer, so it like the sun sets so late and blah blah. We see this palm tree just like shaking, like it was like 10 feet away, and we're like, "What is that?" He goes, "Oh, don't worry about it, mate. It's just a city bat." This thing was a monstrous veins in the like
Whoa.
a bat. It was like a bat, it was like, but he's like, just a city bat, mate. No, it's just like a rat for them, you know what I mean? It's like, but this thing had like a 4-foot wingspan. It was up in the tree and it was all furry and veiny, and you're like, that's a bat? It looks like a pterodactyl.
I was going to say, dude, this is like something left over from like the dinosaur age, right? Yeah.
It's down there, bro. It is down there.
Well, I have that to look forward to. I have large bat birds to look forward to. Yeah, I've never been, and I gotta say that I've put off going because I've always hoped and prayed. Like work came through. I got to go to Japan for work, and I got to see all of Europe through work, and South America and all these places. And I'm like, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I'm like, I'm work is somehow there's too much music. They love music too much over there for me not to get to go to Australia with a band. Certain places I've surrendered to the fact that Christine and I are just going to have to go on our own dime. But I'm like, not. That's gonna be a work trip. I can feel it, and sure enough,
That's one of the perks of doing what we do is being
yeah.
able to travel the world on someone else's dime. And we're actually going back to Australia for 25 days in February. So
Oh wow, exciting, buddy.
super excited. So maybe I'll do some international tours, international clinics, because I've never done a
Ooh.
whole lot of international clinics. Because we'll have days off in between, which is kind of something kind of interesting to look forward to. But man, if everybody wants to check you out, StephenWilsonMusic.com. It tells the whole story.
That's it. That's my site. I'm very proud of it. My good friend Kata did a great job building that up for me. So we worked a lot of back and forth on
Well, it's
just
nice. It
editing.
tells people how to find you. The bio is brief and sexy and sweet, and there's video footage of you playing. There's recordings. There's your tour dates, which are up to date, which I'm sure give it 5 years, it will not be up to date. But in the meantime, your tour dates are up to date. I interviewed Chris McHugh, and he's like, I said, man, your tour dates are 10 years old on the site. He's like, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
no one ever keeps the tour dates. Just go to Instagram. But no, it looks great. And then how do you promote your VO? Is that another site? Do you have an agent? Voices 123. What do you do?
It's SteveWilsonVO.com is my.
I should have checked that out.
Yeah,
Everyone
that's
check it out. SteveWilsonVO.com. And I need to connect you with Jim McCarthy, who's my longtime friend of 18 years.
yeah.
He's the co-host of my podcast, and he does some steak work, but he calls a lot of his work hamburger work, which is he does a lot of things like press one to try to talk to someone, press two to never ever speak to someone ever again in your entire life, and press zero to fuck off. So he does a lot of those kind of things.
Yeah. Yeah. I would love to meet him. I would love to meet. There's a great organization here in Nashville, the Tennessee Voiceover. With Christy Bowen over there. They're great people to know. Yeah, I'll give them a plug. And
What's up, guys?
They're terrific. Great. A lot of classes, a lot of coaching. They will help you with an audition. Like I've went in there. I've been with Pearl Drums for 18 years, and I was out.
Pearl, Sabian, you and I have in common. So if we ever did a clinic tour, the common bond would be Sabian. You're with the Vader. They have a stick called it's called the Los Angeles, or it's called the LA's.
Yeah.
I love that stick.
It's the LA Session, I think is that
LA
stick.
Session. I like that stick. What do you play?
Yeah. I play a Power 5B Acorn tip that nice. Chad, my good friend Chad over at Vader, who takes such good care of me, he screened my name and my handle. I got the boomstick now. So I was like so stoked for that. And
Steve Boomstick Wilson. I love that.
That's it.
Yeah, dude. Like they make a good product. They really make a good product. Everybody's making a really good product. And Sabian, like I'm assuming, like so for me, like I got 15 or 16-inch hats. I never have less than a 22-inch rod. I got two 20-inch crashes, and then I have a Holy China. And Holy China, is that the best China cymbal ever known to man?
I mean, they're monstrous, man. They're so nasty. I love Chris. It's just good. I just got the 15-inch Evolution hats, the Weckl hats, and I absolutely love them. And Stanky hit me to Zuckerman's the session ride, man. The HH session ride. It's so versatile. Great stuff. Love all the HHX stuff. But that's they're great companies, man. And what more can you ask of a company than you call, they call you back. You need something, they take care of it. You know what I mean? And in return, we talk it up and promote it anywhere we can and any way we can. So yeah, Dude. They're very, very lucky. If it's not broke, I've been with Pearl 18 years. I've been with Sabian 17 years. Invader for like 8 years. And yeah, it's just like they're great products. And
You're a loyal human being, and that's a great thing. What is your go-to snare drum with Pearl? Is it that Sensitone? It's like a budget snare drum, but it's badass and everybody records on it, or like
that thing, I just got the Session Select, which is a birch and mahogany, African mahogany blend. It's not the most expensive snare drum in the world, uh, but by God, it's a 6.5, and it cracks. It was on a backline kit, and I was like, geez, and I called John up, and I'm like, how do I get my hands on one of these? I'm like, I gotta have one of these. Um, Full disclosure, my Superphonic gets a big workout. I love my Phonic. And I've got a carbon fiber snare drum that was made for me from a boutique company called Rocket Shell in Sacramento. What's up, Paul? Um, and I absolutely love that thing too. So I'm loyal, but like um, like you're a DW guy. That Bell Bronze is a sick snare drum. What are you using? What's your Monday through Friday on tour?
the snare drum is just a matching 5.5 by 14 maple snare drum that matches the maple 1970s DW technology. Like they have so many different shell configurations and cross pollinations and gum and cherry wood and maple mahogany. I do have a maple mahogany kit. That's my main recording kit, but on the road, it's just like, I just keep it so stupid. I just go with this, the normal off the shelf maple kit,
Yeah,
13, 16, 18, 24, 5.5. Let's count it off,
I love it, dude.
you
Keep it
know.
keep it simple. Yeah, I was gonna say. So you're using wood on live. That's great, man. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
even though I'm a very much a metal snare drum guy, I have,
yeah,
you know, 90% of my collection is metal snare drums, and then some of the deeper drums are treated in a way with double ply heads and gaff tape and such to mimic a wood snare drum, but
yeah,
I just
yeah.
love metal drums.
Yeah, me too. I do too. I love a metal snare drum. I really do. I really do. Yeah, I'm trying to find a Black Beauty from like, at least maybe even like the 90s for under $2,000, and it's tricky,
You know what? I found there's a cat in town who's like he's kind of like one of our Keltners, our Nashville Keltners, Brian Owings. What's up, Brian? We keep missing each other, but he's like, one of the guys that would play with like a Lucinda or a Roseanne Cash. He's that cat. And he's probably has 25, 100-year-old Black Beauties. He's that guy. And he's
Oh
like,
wow.
I was like, I want a 1920 Black Beauty. Where do I get it? And he goes, just go to Reverb. He sent me a link. He goes, here's a 1920s Black Beauty, 6.5 for $1,300. He said, buy it right now.
Right now. Yeah,
And I did. So I have one
good for you.
1920s Black Beauty,
Ooh.
just because we've been doing this so long. Does it end up on everything? No, because sometimes the off the shelf 6.5 from Forks Drum Closet that's got the trick throw off and you know, the the
Yeah,
the rock locks and it's just all
yeah,
ready to go and it's just like it beat the
yeah.
shit out of it.
Dude,
But you
that's a
deserve it, man.
that's
You
a great
deserve it.
find. Yeah, I keep looking, I keep looking. We have the good fortune like of being on the road. I got a 1970 Superphonic 5. They clearly didn't know what they had. I got it for, I think I paid $200 for
Well,
it
that's always great.
at a ma and pa shop in New Jersey. And the only question I had for the guy is, can you ship it to my house in Nashville? And he's like, no problem.
Dude,
So
that's a
I,
fun pastime on the road. You're in
yeah,
you're in Hoboken, New Jersey. You're gonna get a nice cup of coffee. You're gonna get a bagel, scooped
yeah,
or unscooped, and you're gonna go to the thrift shop and look for drums or something.
totally. I remember, I texted Joe Travers. What's up, Joe?
Joe, what's up?
Joe's
Joe walks an odd time. He's like left, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, left, right, right, left. He's in 7. He's walking everywhere in 7.
Joe, real quick,
9.
real quick. He was going to go out with Eric Johnson, and I'm like, dude, you just must be like, you must be just like, this is years ago. I was like, you must just be like in the shed, man. Just like, he's like, no. He's like, I just listened to it. And I'm like,
What's up, Joe Travers? We got to have a nice,
dude, I love you,
nice
Joe.
chat too.
Joe, I called you, and I was like, is this a good deal? And you were like that. Buy it now.
Now.
Like, don't wait. Go to an ATM if you have to. Like, get that drum and that. And if
ATM. Hey, so here's the deal. What's your favorite color?
Macintosh green, like Granny Apple green.
What? Never have gotten that. That's because you're a unique individual.
Yeah.
I like that. What about your favorite food or dish?
Well, favorite food is Italian. And if it was on a deserted island, last meal, kind of boring, but I'd probably have to go spaghetti and meatballs.
Yeah, but it's just so great. And then you have some Chianti, and then you're on a tablecloth, the red and white checkered tablecloth.
Yeah.
And some guy's got an accordion, and you're just like, I'm ready.
Let's go. Amore.
Here we go. That's amore. Swing it. Stop.
Ooh, nice press.
Oh my God.
Nice press.
You press. So what about favorite drink?
My favorite drink, adult or all genre.
I mean, it can be milk, 2%, whatever.
Well, my favorite beverage is probably coffee.
Yeah, come on.
I mean, talking about something that I can have any time of the day. Like I can drink coffee at 10 o'clock at night and enjoy it. So yeah,
I will usually not do it at 10 o'clock at night, but you're right. I mean, I could push it to like 6 o'clock at night, something like that. And I don't know about you and your touring mates, but we're like simple guys. We're just like, what's our rider on the bus? The strongest coffee known to man, like alien blood, like seeping through the whole of the ship. You know what I mean? We just give us coffee.
Like an engine block. Like with the oil pen out of it. Yeah.
Dude, incredible. It's so easy. So what about your favorite drummers? Like, if you had like your Mount Rushmore of drummers.
I would have to put Bonham up there, and I really love Steve Smith.
Wow.
I do.
The open bass drums and the solos from the 80s, so fluid and awesome.
But to hear him, I mean, the guy, we can go down a rabbit hole about him, but like to hear him, his jazz, and then like the stuff he did with Journey. I mean, I am like, that's like, it's the same guy. Yeah. And it's just, to me, it's just like, oh my God. It's
I love that Vital Information, especially the like 90s Vital Information with the fat Sonar snare drum. It was kind of smooth. It was a little bit smooth,
Yeah. Those two, I mean, you got to mention Vinny, I mean, with the Sting stuff alone, yeah. And then, I love Dave Grohl. I love the veracity of Dave's playing. And growing up, I was a big fan of both Mike Portnoy. I loved the early Dream Theater stuff. And I loved Nirvana. I loved the idea of taking veracity and a vocabulary and merging them. So like, and it's basically kind of like what would become That's in my opinion, it's kind of like what Joey Jorgensen did with Slipknot in those early days. Was he took prowess, sheer like the chops, but he beat the crap out of the drums too. So it was like, yeah, that gets my tail wagging. I like to hear like power and like, Tishy. Like Tishy can do that. Tishy can like be coming through a wall and then like just burn around the toms. And you're like, geez, like all that stuff he did with like Pride and Glory, that record. I mean, like he's all over it. It's just that's what's fun to me.
Yeah,
That's what's
man.
cool.
I think that's a perfect combination of peanut butter and chocolate is
Yeah,
that you are it's like a smart caveman.
that's the best way I've ever heard it put.
It's
Yeah.
like a caveman that went to community college and it's like, hey, read Little Women, read Catcher in the Rye, read the Canterbury Tales, but you're still very hairy and your knuckles are scraping the ground.
100%. Yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
love that we both feel that way. And I do, I will say this, he hasn't been on the show yet, but God bless him. He's asked me to be at 4 Bonzo bashes, and you've played those. I think Brian Tishy is one of the greatest modern rock drummers we have alive today.
100%. I'd agree.
He has a real special thing.
Yeah, he does.
He really does. And you know what? Who else does? Steve Wilson.
Oh, you're too kind. Thank you, buddy.
I love it, buddy. I miss you so much. I know that we love cigars. I love the fact that you're living in Nashville right now. I love that you got, since you and I met, we both got great gals. We got new homes.
Yeah.
It's all a great thing. And if people want to come see you this year with the Dead Kennedys, how do they find out where to find you?
They can go to my website, they can go to StephenWilsonMusic.com, or they can cruise over to DeadKennedys.com. We are currently nothing in the States right now on the books, but we are headed, like I said, we're headed to New Zealand and Australia in September. And in the meantime, I'm going to be here in town, and I gig around local here and there when I can. And then if not, I'm in this booth and talking into a microphone. So it's good stuff.
I love it. Kenny Aronoff was right. You're like, hey, you should do voiceover, and you're doing the thing, man. Everyone takes Kenny's advice.
And if Kenny gives you some advice, you should probably take it.
Dude, I love it. I tell you what, I probably won't see you in the month of July because it's always everyone's craziest month in festival season. But I know that there's an amazing cigar bar here in Spring Hill called The Mission. You walk in, they've got the most insanely expensive smoke eaters. You leave and you're like, oh my God, did I go to a cigar bar? It was amazing. It was an amazing experience. Wow. So we'll do the thing. So everybody check out StephenWilsonMusic.com, and the voiceover is
SteveWilsonVO.com.
SteveWilsonVO.com. I'm super happy for you. I'm just very proud of you, and I'm proud to call you a friend.
Thank you, Rich. I love you, buddy.
I love you, man. And hey, to all the listeners, be sure to subscribe, share, rate, and review. It helps people find this crazy little show, and we need all the help with all the noise today. And leave us a 5-star rating and review at Apple Podcasts. It really does help things. And we'll see you next time. Thanks, Steve.
This has been The Rich Redmond Show. Subscribe, rate, and follow along at richredmond.com/podcasts.